Hey, welcome back. Sorry we were gone so long. We took I guess a 2-month hiatus or...
Oh, almost 3.
No, it was January, I think January 4th.
Oh,
okay. It's now March
sure.
4th and we're back. A lot going on. And it's wars and rumors of wars now. You know,
is it rumors of war or is it literally a war happening?
As of recent, everybody's been plugging this Nazi thing, this narrative, this Hitler thing, and it's been going on for like 5 or 6 years. So everything is either a Hitler thing or the worst thing since World War II, and this is like the worst thing since forever. But I don't know. I remember shock and awe going into Iraq, and it looking a lot crazier than this. But that was then. This is now. I guess we're Americans. We can do different things. But I don't know. I just say that all the information is definitely not being given. We are not seeing the full picture, the full spectrum of information.
Well, what do you think the full spectrum of information is? What do you think that they're holding back?
Well, it just seems like, well, number one, they've been pushing the anti-Russia narrative for about 5 or 6 years. And now they pushed it to a point where we got a war. So we don't really, obviously we're not in Vladimir Putin's head. We don't know what he's thinking about. And he could actually be crazy. He could actually be going off the rails like they're saying, but he seems to be in power for that long and hanging on that long. He seems to be a calculated and intelligent gentleman, versed in the politics and geopolitics of the world. So, it seems like to me he was. It seems like either a move of desperation. It's either I got to go now, mm-hmm. or it's not going to ever happen, because it seems like to me that NATO was constantly pushing eastward, and I felt like he was feeling, I guess, trapped or boxed in. So, and the opportunity presented itself right now, meaning, he might have gone in when Trump was there, but it seems like...
Well, do you honestly think that he would make that bold move if Trump was in office?
Well, there was 3 things going on with Trump. Number one, he was pumping oil. And we were, the price of oil in the United States was low, so Putin wasn't making a lot of money.
Okay.
Number 2, he had shut down their pipeline. And there was, he vetoed it or was not sanctioning it to be built.
And we were building some turmoil with Germany because of that pipeline shutdown. Right?
Yeah. Trump was going off on the Germans like, why the hell are you getting your stuff from Russia when you want us to protect you? And number 3, it just seems like, Trump, for whatever it's worth, could be viewed as erratic or a wild card. You don't really know. So then, Biden gets in, his thing changes, he stops drilling the oil, he shuts the oil down, and he opens the pipeline up, and you give the guy a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so he's got money now to finance his army, to keep his army in the field, and for it to do what it's doing. And I guess he figured it was, perfect time. Let me go.
That's interesting. But even now, whatever the entity is, the Ukraine or any secret army or certain countries' troops that are on the ground in Ukraine helping that isn't being disclosed, whatever it is, Russia isn't dominating this takeover as easily as the do, because they just don't have an established army and weaponry and all the stuff that Russia has. So to see that Russia is somewhat struggling to take over this place is interesting to me. Very interesting.
Well, it could be that I think the Russian military is a little more adapted warfare. It might not be like the surgical tool like the United States has, but I mean they just did an operation a couple of Tajikistan or I cannot remember. Was it Georgia? When he sent 3,000 paratroopers in and they like put down a rebellion really quickly, and they've had cadres of soldiers in Syria, so they do have fighting capabilities. Now, from what I understand, the Russian military, the way they operate, instead of bringing divisions in or units in, they activate the divisions that are closest to the situation.
Right.
So it seems like to me a lot of the divisions that they're activating are like almost like National Guard guys, and that would account for some of the slow movement and slow behavior and being pumped up by special forces.
Right.
To me, it doesn't seem like they going to bring all their frontline units into it. They just like, oh, we'll use all the reserve units and whoever's in the neighborhood.
Interesting.
That seems to be their MO for how they do a lot of fighting. You know, they just because I don't think the logistics is there where they can bring 100,000 guys from wherever and bring them there. I think they just, well, we got some guys here. Let's try to make it happen with these guys. I also think that they weren't going in with the sledgehammer approach at the beginning, and I think they just now they got to.
So what's very interesting to me is countries' reaction or counter to Putin's misinformation wars. So as a KGB agent that moved up and become president, he was very, very well versed in his years in the KGB and as the Russian president in misinformation and misleading information, very powerful propaganda. So, in the early marks or the early warning signs of, Putin amassing, amassing his troops around Ukraine, it was really the Ukrainian president and government that really wasn't taking it as seriously as a threat early in the beginning.
Yeah, he was telling Biden, "Hey, man, stop with all the rhetoric. Let's back off. Let's tone it down a little bit." But again, we don't really know what was going on in Ukraine before all this happened.
Yeah,
we have.
Well, we do. There's a recent documentary out about it was a revolution maybe a couple of years ago. Not a revolution, but like the people all went into the Capitol and like held it down and made
the color revolution.
Right. So that was when like they were there for weeks, and the nurses and doctors was on the ground taking care of people, and chefs were cooking there. So that was what was happening then. That was a couple of years ago. Things seem to have to settle down, and the country seemed to be going in a smoother democratic direction, and now they're in the middle of a fight.
Well, I don't know if democratic is the
is the right word.
Is the right, because it seems like what happened, I think it was in 2013, that there was a coup.
Okay.
And I believe the coup
was that Russian theater, that coup?
No, that was American theater.
Wow.
That was CIA, George Soros funded color revolution, because they just pulled off the whole Arab Spring. And so the mission has always been go get Russia.
Right.
And so, you do this coup, you change, the government was sort of down with Putin. Everybody's fine. These guys gave up their nuclear weapons to the Russians. It was all, was it the Belgrade Agreement? I think, I'm not sure, I forgot the name. And then there's a coup. And now you have a government that's hostile to the Russians, and it's not an elected government.
Yeah.
Now they've had elections, but and then the Americans rush in and just start training a whole bunch of people, and then it became, what I feel is like some sort of black site.
So what do you think about? I don't know if you saw this, and honestly, these little tidbits of information, what I'm about to tell you now, I really didn't like fact check it because it was such a just a loose fact. But I usually get these tidbits off of social media like Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, and it's always like in a meme form type.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the Ukrainian president who decided to stay because America offered to
I heard he
fly him
ran
out.
today.
Really?
That was one of the threads I saw, but I can't say for sure.
So one of the threads that I saw about him and his courage of staying there to fight for his country, apparently his grandparents or his grandfather and maybe like great uncle or something fought in World War II.
Probably with the Germans, right?
No, fighting against the Nazis.
Really?
And so I guess his great uncle passed and his grandfather didn't. Or his whichever specific relative it was, and because that person survived, he is here now. And they're saying, this courage, this heroism runs in the family because he had his people fighting for the Nazis and for the freedom
against
the
Nazis,
fighting against the Nazis, and now he's here fighting again against Russia and in this pending to be world conflict. So I don't know how true that is, but I just find it interesting, like, because the world is on Ukraine's side, like, and social media and the internet and these little tad bits are what fills it up. Like, now we have information like that. So now I'm supposed to sympathize even more with him because wow, his entire lineage is filled with courage.
Oh well. You get back to some of the false narratives that we've seen. It was like the thing with the infantry on that Snake Island thing,
mm-hmm.
where they told the Russians to go fuck themselves, and then the Russians killed them.
See now,
those guys turned out that they surrendered, and they're prisoners of war.
I heard that. I was because at first the narrative was they got killed, they were slaughtered, but then it was like, okay, they're still alive, and so they are prisoners.
Yeah.
So they surrendered.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, but the narrative was they surrendered. I mean, they fought. And they were eliminated by the Russians, and the Russians are so bad, but then they actually surrendered. So I'm not saying the Russians aren't bad. I'm just saying there's a lot of weird stuff like this thing, the ghost of Kiev, this fighter plane that's going around shooting down Russian planes. And I mean, but if you look at the stuff that they're playing, it's video game simulations that they're saying that this is a fighter plane. It's a lot of weird shit going on, a lot of weird information.
So was that story simultaneous? Was it the Ukrainian soldiers on that island said, fuck you, as they're surrendering?
Probably.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even think they fired around.
Fuck you, fine.
Yeah, I don't even think they fired around. They probably just surrendered. And then it's like you got this whole. I was just watching tonight. You got all these foreign legions that are fighting in Yugoslavia. Mm-hmm. It's like all these people are sending people to fight in Ukraine against the Russians, and you don't know who these people are. It just seems very. It seems very weird. They're also handing out weapons to a whole bunch of civilians.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but does the Ukraine have a legitimate established army?
Yes.
Do they?
Well, they say that the guys say we were the 20th. If you ranked armies, it was 20th ranked army in the world or something.
So are they handing out? So is it almost like 1776 and here?
Mm-hmm. And it's just moving closer and closer to Russia. So he's probably feeling cornered. And I think he had to react. I think it's like, I think this war was bound to happen. And I think the Ukrainians did themselves a major disservice listening to the British and Germans and the Americans gas their head about joining NATO,
right,
and which led them to probably talk shit to the Russians when they should have been playing sort of easy in the middle, like, hey, we just here. And I don't think you would have what's going on now.
Sure.
But, and then, you got this whole thing that Putin keeps talking about, this Nazi situation.
So we have a couple of viewers on now. Thank you guys for checking in with us. The description that I put is Amber Prysock.
Yes.
She says, "Hey guys, hey Amber."